The insurance industry is entering a new era where data, AI, and ML are transforming it from reactive risk coverage to predictive, personalized, and real time protection. To explore this transformation, we now bring together an expert panel to discuss how intelligent technologies are reshaping the future of insurance. For our panel on reimagining the insurance industry with data, AI, and ML, I invite our moderator, Mr. Asim Parashar, partner PwC, on the dais. Please give him a huge round of applause. Joining him are our panelists, Mr. Ajay Pal Singh Sethi, co-founder Darwix AI. Can we have those claps, please? We have lunch coming up next. Thank you. Mr. Abhijit Gulanikar, Chief Strategy Officer, SBI Life. And Mr. Varun Balla, Director Sales, CRIF. Over to you, Mr. Parashar.
Okay, exactly 12 o'clock, so good afternoon. And prior to this also we had the reimagining of the core, but this one is again reimagined, so that's a very, very difficult and challenging topic, but we have esteemed panelists out here, so I think definitely they will be able to share their viewpoints and throw some lights, practical ones, because we are talking about data, AI, ML, intelligent technologies, and the impact on the industry and how we can reimagine that. So first question, and again this is for all the panelists, and I will start with you, Ajay, because you have built a product, a platform, you have been in the industry, different experience. So is AI really adding value to the industry and specifically to the insurance industry? And if so, why? And I will have some counter questions on that.
Sorry, we would like to invite Mr. Gopal Balachandran, CFO and appointed actuary, ICICI Lombard General Insurance. We were in a fair, he was in the room. Thank you. A huge round of applause for Mr. Balachandran. Sorry about that, sir.
Perfect. I think wonderful question to kickstart the discussion. Just as I think leading on to the point, the whole conversation that we're doing here, I use my own personal AI assistant device that we made. It records everything I do, tells me, summarizes my day. If I talk to someone and a business proposal had to be made, it creates an auto business proposal at the end of the day, right? So, that's exactly what's happening today in the insurance sector, right? So we work with 14 insurers across 6 nations. I think the biggest change that you see, going beyond an incremental layer and it going deeper, is because insurers are not just thinking of this as a as a summarization layer or just as a inference layer at the light level or automating interactions, which was the earliest level. Have an AI chatbot or have an AI caller, right? Which is the simplistic way of looking at what AI can do. I think what's truly, I think whenever, and we're talking, and I'm talking about the largest insurers in every country, from an Oman to a UAE to India to Philippines to US. I think what we're continuously seeing at the CXO level when we go in, the first discussion is, a conversation with a customer got triggered, whether it was a claims conversation, a sales conversation, and this is one example of it, right? Can it literally, at the end of it, create deep agentic flows in my entire system, right? And they're willing to let it read and write from their core systems. And literally, they're thinking, how can we level up the journey of each RM, each physical interaction, each call center interaction that happens, right? So it's no longer, I think, just summarization or light inference or interaction layer automation. I think the decision makers are already talking, can we do decision-making automation? And I think that is such a massive change that when insurers, start thinking, the industry starts thinking like that, I think that's when the change truly, is not just incremental, is a much more deeper play in the journey, right? And I was just talking to someone at Marsh Risk in the US, a couple of months back. And I was just surprised that the guy on the other end, he was obviously the CTO, has spent a couple of decades in that industry at the minimum, right? And he knew about agentic models and how they can deeply integrate into systems before us, right? In fact, he told us of 2 models that they're already tried on their own, right? So it's not entered now boardrooms from just a cost-saving perspective, but a revenue level up perspective. I think that's where I think the last 3 years since GenAI has truly become AI. I think AI has been around for a long time. But the GenAI, I think wave has led to this whole decision-making automation, which is where I think a lot of non-incremental value add is going to come to the sector.
So I would, pick up point from what, was said by Ajay earlier. The key challenge remains, can you expand business by using AI? And I don't think anybody has solved that problem. Whether that will come from improving customer experience, faster decision making, automation, etc., or better equipping your sales guys to handle customer queries, improving sales pitches, because you don't get, great sales guys who have full product knowledge, etc. Though there are some challenges around that. But, there are some hidden, currents which have. So, for example, for life insurance, I can say, is knowing product is not enough, or doing financial planning is not enough. There is an emotional connect that is required between the potential sales guy and the customer. And that is the problem which AI can't solve. At least as of now, nobody has solved it. And that is the biggest hindrance, because what we are seeing is adoptions are not bad. The technical challenges, I would not say completely solved, but they are under control for whatever we have tried. But if you want that there's a big productivity boost, we are not seeing anything till now from whatever we have tried. Obviously, the investments are not, large, that, so large that it will make or break because, the experiment failed or did not fail, worked or did not work. But on the call center side, those are fairly successful, and they will become more, mainstream as we go along. Some of the challenges of Indian languages are also getting solved, and getting solved quite well, honestly. And that is actually literally last 6-9 months development. Hindi and English was largely solved, but so we are seeing some green shoots, but still a long way to go in terms of whether AI will do a big thing in terms of material change to the bottom line or the top line of a life insurance company, at least I can say.
Thanks, Abhijit. So from extremely positive, optimistic Ajay to a bit in the middle. So over to you, Arun.
Yeah. So I think I divide AI into 2 parts. So AI, when we look at it, when we talk about customer service, when we talk about chatbots, when we talk about those agents, we are essentially talking about touching the outside core of our business. AI is normally as good as saying what is the context that it has. And context is as good as saying what is the kind of data that I have. So do I have the right understanding of the data? And do I have the data in a right structure to be able to understand the context in which the customer is talking to us or the customer is coming to us? Whether that's at the time of onboarding, do I know what behavior trends are they coming up with? Whether it's the time of policy claim management, do I know what is the situation in which that claim is happening? Why is it happening? And can I actually gather that data at the right time and create an understanding around it? So for AI to be actually creating the core business value, it becomes a very, very important part to say, have I looked at my systems, that the way that they are storing the data, are they storing the data in the right manner? Do I have the right kind of data that I am collecting regarding the customer when the customer is first coming to me, when the customer is second time coming to me for a second interaction, whether it is regarding a clarification or a customer change process, or whether it is regarding claims. So what is the kind of data that I am gathering and I'm storing? And that is when that is in a right place and a right manner, then AI is more in terms of how do I actually utilize the data and insight to create my workflow actions or create my decisions on top of those. Because going back to the same cycle, any distribution partner, sales agent who understands and creates an emotional connect, or an underwriter or a claim manager is as good as understanding the context of the customer. And if they don't understand the context of the customer, that's where failures happen. And that's the same thing which holds true for AI. So while AI has a lot of potential, I think we all need to go back and start looking at what is it that we have in our systems. Are our systems capable to understand those points? And are we collecting the right kind of data that we are bringing in? So that's where I would probably keep.
So Varun is stressing on the data. So you have the underlying data, then there is a possibility we can derive the benefits. And Gopal, our apologies, because the basic intelligence still require human in the loop, and we missed your name while inviting you to the panel. But you control the funds. Should we invest in this?
So the way I would kind of look at this is, I think I call it as hygiene more than anything else. So therefore, any business opportunity you always would want to kind of take the risk of going ahead with investing in it. Some of them you can expect an ROI on day one, some of which over a period of time, finite time, and some of them are capable of not being determined at any point of time at all. Yeah. So I don't know where AI will fit in this. Okay. Whether will there be an ROI in day one, there will be an ROI in a finite period of time, but or whether there will be no ROI that is capable of being put to it at all. Having said that, I think all that I would say is, as I said, I would kind of look at this as hygiene. Any institution which possibly does not put focus, emphasis on this, honestly is likely to be left behind. And it cuts across everything. I think it, for example, with all this, in terms of the investment that we do, we have to be mindful of the fact that, I think I can speak more as Abhijit can speak on the life side. On the PNC or on the non-life, I think there is always an element of protecting policyholder interest. And more so in the GI side, we end up settling, as Amit was saying, we settled some 30,000 crores or 40,000 crores of claims, etc., on the health side. But at the end of the day, there is an element of empathy and care that we have to be mindful of, despite all that we are kind of talking in the context of AI. So hence, investments are important, but equally human in the loop, or in that sense an intervention which will happen through a person, is equally important as a part of the overall pyramid.
Thanks, Gopal. And let me just further take this discussion. And again, this is my personal view, not PwC's view. There are three things which we are seeing. That the topic of AI or Gen AI or agents have kind of democratized technology. So the board also talks about AI, and they ask what you are doing on the AI. So whenever I talk to our CXO's friend, you are not doing anything in AI, the X person is doing AI. And all the analyst report, if you read, I have invested so many thousands of crores, I have empowered so many licenses for my employees, etc. But nowhere it kind of demonstrate what is the value that you have got for it. And that's still somewhere it is there. The second question which comes up when I talk to our client, there are basically four things which any investments in the industry has to go. First is the revenue growth. Second is the cost. Third, customer experience. Fourth, risk and compliance or regulatory compliance. These are the simple things. Prioritization will depend on each of the respective companies where they see that part of it and where they are in their journey of their growth. So when we look at this part of it, we have already invested, and insurance was behind. If I look at banking industry, they were ahead because RBI as a regulator had pushed them quite aggressively. Insurance was the second, and the mutual fund industry or the AMC business used to be the third one. So SEBI that's the way they used to kind of progress. Now when we look at this landscape, and there is an increased pressure on growth of the business, managing the cost, and then also answering to the board and investors on the AI part of it. And we are not seeing real benefits, we are seeing only the bites in the press, etc. Some of the data points, Microsoft has stopped its employee to use Cloud Opus because the cost is going into more than $1,000 per person per month. The tokens, there are token board who is using maximum tokens, and you are being kind of identified like the CSIF employees on the airport. You will see best employee of the month, etc. So those are the kind of competitions happening. Meta is doing the same thing. So somewhere the people are realizing, is it really something on which we should build our business, or should it be handled as a tool or an enabler to grow the business and manage all the 4 parameters which we talked? And that is the important question which everyone in the industry wants to understand. And as you 4 are here, one a solution provider, the other from Live, you from General, and then the foundation, the data part of it. So let's extend this. What is the 2 things or 3 things which you would like the audience out here? They should take it as a pointed response, which may not be very clear still, but there is a way we are seeing it, that they should take it after this event, because before the lunch we are stopping them here. So that's very important, that when they go out, they are happy. So over to you, Ajay.
Perfect. I think to the point that was just made by Varun on obviously the the data part of it, on how do you think about going deeper there. I think one thing that you have to I think immediately start realizing, you mentioned Microsoft, right, and how they're thinking of it. There was one quote that I was reading the other day, that if the only thing holding a technology back at any point in time, if it's so widespread that it's costly, you're just waiting for a decade for it to come and capture everything, right? At one point in time, I was just reading that quote in deeper detail. If you look at 100 years back, in a single day, the amount of flights that would have taken off in the whole world would be minuscule, right? Today, a million plus flights happen daily, right? It's just about whether the technology got deeper, or what SpaceX is doing, that, launching satellites got just way cheaper than what it was earlier, right? So I think 2 things. I think if you have to think about how you think about it impacting, right? One is this technology's core capability to capture a ton of context. I think, and that's very, very additional to Varun's point, that, when you think of internal data systems and what they have, you also, I think, have to just now start thinking, once this system starts bringing in conversations on the field, on call centers and everything into your data lakes, and starts building that contextual journey. So think of it as a context gathering mechanism, right? Which the scale of which humanity has never seen before, right? And the second part of it is, I think, a lot of the worry or scare that goes around, that data centers are extremely costly to run, and we'll never figure out a way. I think Peter Thiel just yesterday funded a company. What that company does is houses these data centers for AI on the sea. So they're cooled by the sea as the data centers run, by the water of the sea and the breezes that come, and he's using atmospheric events in the Pacific Ocean to do that cooling, right? Literally cutting that cost to do it by literally a 1,000th per data center, right? So I think when I think of it, right, the fact that you just mentioned, the core areas where industry has to apply this, will become absolutely clearer as a journey. If you just start thinking of this, has there been ever a system that captures context in so much detail that no other system has captured, right? And second, when does a technology just only start being about cost? It's because you just need it, but you're trying to figure out how do you make it cheaper, right? It's about, as I said, it's been repeated in Indian across global industry with planes, with cars, with satellites, with everything, right? So and that's how obviously these are the 2 things that I would think of it from a metaphysical layer when you think of AI being applied to industry, right? And holding these two in mind whenever you think of a, I think, discussion on does it truly have that deeper impact to make?
So I would put for life insurance a slightly different problem, because many of the AI tools depend on a lot of data being available. And in life insurance, the data is sparse. Most customers have extremely limited interaction with you. Not many customers will buy multiple products by nature of the product, point number one. And there will be hardly any interaction. So for most customers, 60-70% renewal premium payment is the only interaction you will ever have with them. Now, in this sparse data, how can you glean additional information about them is a challenge. So, for example, this nominee change means life event has happened. Happens, I'm not denying. And insurance companies are probably not, doing enough to tap on the opportunity because of life event change. But those are few and far between. Even if you capture them and you have a reasonable success in conversion rates, it will not materially alter the business that you will get, additional business that you will get from them. Having said that, clearly on the distributor side and on the engagement side, you will have to try various things. It being a low engagement product, how we can, have additional interaction, for want of better word, kind of initiated by the life insurance company rather than by customer, and then glean additional information and use that to, power your customer understanding and the AI part. So you will have to do something else addition to normal business to get more insights into customer behavior and use that to increase your business. So essentially, to my mind, that is the path, and it's not an easy path, but I'm sure some of the leading ones will try to do over the next 3-5 years some of those initiatives to get additional insights into customers and then use that to increase business, save costs, same things.
So Varun, before you kind of answer, just to give you a perspective, and thank Abhijit on that. On the data side, we started with data warehouse, then data mart, data fabric, data mesh. Now I don't know what all things will get. We'll keep on throwing all these jargons. And there is a sufficient amount of data residing with all the insurers, some surrogate, some direct, etc. But still, if you ask me personally, we have not been able to derive the real benefit to the level which we would have liked, and the amount of investment that has gone into that, right? Every data project on an average takes 18 to 24 months, and continuously you need to pump in money. Consultants like us also come and give jargons and everything, all those aspects of it. But when we look at this, and you are one of the data service provider, how do you believe that something has to change in the industry? Something needs to change. Rather than the jargons, let us try to solve some real problems.
Asim, I think I was just, when sir was talking about it, right, and I was thinking something in the same lines. So we come from lending. We are data guys, we run the credit bureaus, we come from lending. And if you see the last 10 years in lending, the way lending has evolved, whether it is the fintechs, whether it's the interactions, the UI, the understanding, the awareness to the customer of what the products are, and the personalization on the products itself, the kind of products that are available to the customers. And when you look at insurance, I think the gap is significant from purely about thinking about what we can do with creating our products, how we can actually personalize them to individuals. How can we actually make it easier for them to understand? Today, if you go on any of the GI players and you are a motor insurance, you're renewing your motor insurance. It's extremely hard to do a motor renewal insurance of your own, with your own insurer. And I still don't understand why. it's way easier to go back to any number of brokers or distributors who will give you incessant 50 calls for that 1 month, and they will do a better pricing and a better job at it. But as an insurer, if I want to do it and I'm a self-driven guy, I can't do it. And I've tried it personally. So it's an insurance industry problem where I don't think insurers are actually rethinking the products itself of that we have so much more data available. We might be creating back-end technologies. But are we making it easier for customers to be able to access our products? Are we making specific products for specific segments of the industry? Are we doing anything on that side? And I think that's the core problem or the piece that from an industry point we should be looking at. There's so much data around behavior, around context. If nothing else, even from a structured format today, between the bureau data, between Aadhaar, between open banking, between transactions data, all of that tells you so much about what customer is doing at what point of time. The unstructured is secondary because you still have to then extract information out of it. But all of that gives you so much data to play around and create those products, which you rarely see. You see some fintechs coming up with some of those embedded insurance, but again, they are more like invisible insurances, which are getting embedded into your products and put there, rather than designed for a particular person. And that's the place I think where the insurance industry needs to really do a deep dive, do a rethink of, with all of the data, knowledge available with us, are we really creating those kind of products for the customers? And are we making it easier for them to understand those products? And those are both the places. One is where, when we talk of data plus ML, one is where it helps create those various micro segmentation and for different customers. And the second is from a context point or a conversational point, today's Gen AI, which allows us to rethink how we are actually explaining those products to the customer. So while the technology is there, while there is an investment into the data, but I don't think there has been a rethinking. Again, my personal views, I won't say this is correct, but that's where it should be going.
So the way I would kind of look at it is, so what will make AI work? If that's the question. I think the twofold answer to it is very simple. The challenge, what happens today's world is, there are so many jargons that get used. So at an individual level, people get confused. And people get scared that possibly I am not aware of a term which the universe is aware of. Or I am, as an institution, we are not aware of something which the world is aware of. If you can take step back, spend some time in trying to make life simpler and make it easier, to kind of demystify some of these jargons and make it simpler for an individual consumer to understand what is it that we're trying to do. I think that will make a great start insofar as any tech initiatives is concerned. So that's the first thing that we should logically kind of make it, that will make it work. The second is, I think, getting the house in order. As in to say that, as an institution, I think the first point that you asked on, should we be making an investment in AI, etc. or not? I think end of the day, I think we have to just make sure that the resource who is behind delivering service to the customers, which is, let's say, our own employees or our own set of distributors, I think we just have to make sure that they are comfortable using this. And this has to be across the organization. It's not just about it being looked upon. Generally, all of these are being looked upon as a tech initiative. You ask anyone, they will say, "Ye to IT batayega." So therefore, that's the standard response, right? Ye kiski responsibility hai? IT ki responsibility hai. Yeah, it all starts from there. And therefore, if you are able to kind of make sure that the entire organization, as in, it need not be necessarily the last line in the pyramid. Ideally, if you're able to do that, that's a great one. But at least across various functions, if you're able to give them a real life experience of how in your respective areas you can see the benefit of implementing an AI solution. That gives each of those functions humongous confidence in the way you are able to kind of then take step 2, step 3, and step 4 insofar as creating efficiencies are concerned. So I would say these are the two things. If you ask us what will fundamentally make a difference for an institution to be successful compared to the rest of the pyramid, because everyone is going to kind of spend time, energy, money, resources on this. What will make it work? Again, these are two things that comes to the top of my mind.
Thank you. Thank you, Gopal. And you brought a very important point. And just to contextualize it, the best customer service experience is provided by American Express. If you have used their cards and their agents, they are not AI, still human, they take decisions. You are enabling them to take decisions on the spot, first time right, giving them an experience which, because they are branchless, they never had branches. They, from 90s or before that, they never had branches. They started their call center and risk management operations in 90s from Gurgaon. They were one of the first one to come to India. And it's still the consistency of the services. I have sat on their floor in US in their fraud department, sitting with their call center guy in parallel and listening to their interactions. You talked about empathy, emotions, sentiment. All these words I kind of looked into on your website today, which you have used for all your product development part of it. Those were the things that they were using 25 years back, and they have consistently managed that. And that kind of consistency comes, which you rightly said, when your employees, where your distributors or your customer service, people are enabled and given that confidence and tools to make it happen. So that is something very, very pertinent question which you said, and I believe that will definitely help if we want to leverage the potential of AI and whatever comes next, agentic and whatever comes ahead, to make it happen for us. And some of the examples where we have been kind of interacting with customer and working in financial services, outbound calls, where you can still control the context in a more structured manner. There people are using, because there it's giving you a reach, speed and reach. So if it is a festival today, I can create that context and launch in a day and do that part of it. So those are the cases where we are seeing it. Some of the places where we have seen the practical benefit of it, earlier we used to run these sanctions program, anti-money laundering, etc. That used to take 72 hours, 96 hours, depending upon the volume of data, etc. Now that can be run in hours or less than that. So those are the speed of compute which is available. The concept was always there. So that we are seeing. But the point that you have raised is, how do you prepare your organization? And especially the distribution, because everybody is talking about 3% reach, or whatever way we want to call it, the numbers. 55 crore are there, but they need to be serviced and new products have to be brought to them. How do we reach them? How do we enable our distribution partners across all the channels, whether agency, banca, or direct sales agent, your own sales employees, etc., and give the customer a very consistent experience on products which are complex, as rightly said in the earlier discussions, and it has a lot of riders. You can add riders left, right, and center to make it more complex as we go along. How do you enable them? And the churn is some places 30%, 40%, 50% kind of thing. And that's the question I'm putting to all of you, how you enable, how you handle that aspect of it, because that is important, where we can try to solve some real practical problems.
I think to the point that was mentioned around who takes how do you create empathy in the organization, and is it always an IT issue, and how do you surpass that? I think when we think of obviously insurers and how we have navigated CXO rooms, I'll give you my experience and how that builds into empathy. I think the first journey into how you think of it and how you think of how the industry thinks of GenAI is to, at the first outpost, think of it not a decision to be taken by the strategy function or the IT or the CTO or the CISO teams, and then way later when they've done everything, it comes to the business teams. And then it's like a bomb on their head. Okay, tomorrow we automate your call centers, or we'll put that for your RMs, and you'll have to wear devices, or you'll have to do whatever, right? Whatever shape and form of GenAI that you're willing to take. I think we've seen, I think that empathy starts from how leaderships view it as a more deeper contextual journey. And I see that coming across, right? And that responsibility is now being delegated in very interesting ways. So in organizations, you now see, chief digital officers, right? So those are folks who have sweeping controls over the organization in terms of taking the entire org along. They report directly to CEOs and, take the whole journey along. I think the second thing that comes across where you mentioned on how you think of AI, I think a lot of internal education has to be done to all channels, whether it's the bank assurance channels or the direct channels, on the field or at call centers, is to not see, as Abhijit said, right? They're seeing offshoots, but it's a green shoot, but it's very early, right? But if you talk to someone on the ground or someone who's looking at AI, the only thing that they're seeing on their phones or the technology is, it's coming for your jobs and it's going to eliminate, humanity as people working on the ground or working at call center, right? That's the overriding theme that's going across, right? There are people running, and you mentioned already in a scared segment where there is huge attrition. How do you not, obviously, which is the education part of it, and which is also how you roll it out, right? Empathy from a building perspective as well, which we have seen, right? So we've seen a lot of cases, whether this was rolled out or we've seen other industry players do it, right? In a lot of scenarios, Copilot is a very, very good thing compared to just automation, right? So whether you want to build a Copilot journey or whether you would want to build an automation journey, right? And not just with one metric in mind. Let's say that, let's save cost because this automates and this saves cost, right? But thinking, does this elevate the consumer experience? Or to what Varun said, does this elevate the customer's experience of buying a complex product? I think which, Swaminathan sir also mentioned that, products are extremely complex, right? So does it solve, customer experience of buying a product? Does it solve, obviously, the journey of actually getting more coverage in from a premium perspective? Does it also reduce cost? I think which is where I think the CFO's lens also comes in very strongly, that, every AI decision is not just seen as, just a cost measure, but as an ROI measure at a more central level, ROI not just on metrics, but there you have to throw in empathy metrics as well. So are you improving, customer experience? Are you improving their ability to navigate a product? Are you reducing, which was mentioned, right, that, it's 46% on GI, the claim percentage, the dispute percentage is up, right? How do you bring empathy there? So I think these three layers, I think the empathy layer at the board, in making it central ownership decision from day one, rather than thinking of it like a legacy IT implementation, we are implementing a CRM or a ERP or an underwriting tool. Two, which is the second layer, which is how you take that decision, which metrics come into mind when you think of an AI implementation. And the third is, how do you educate the end lines that this is not the end of the world technology that, everyone seems to think it is. We've been talking to some of the largest insurers, right? Some of them have 3-4 lakh people on the ground, right? So just to even harbor the notion that, tomorrow 3 lakh people will evaporate from the ground in an instant and, it's all AI at the end of the day, is also a very fanciful notion, which industry leaders are already aware of. But I think that fear on the ground is much higher, right? So I think it's at 3 levels, the boardrooms who decide the implementation, the metrics, and the education around it, right? When all 3 come together, I think you build the right kind of, empathy play around how do you roll out GenAI.
So, 2 things. One is some of the pain point that you want to solve should come from the ground and not from people sitting in corner offices. When you go and interact with the customer service officers or call center guys or agents or unit managers, as we call it, or development officers in LIC's case, they will probably give a very different pain point than what we thought about. So if we can solve that problem by AI, the adoption and like Gopal said, the organizational acceptance would be much better. Because the first couple of problems you solve are the problems they are facing. That is one big thing that you will have to do, and there are some steps we are taking internally. And the second tricky one, and this is not the first one, is little easier as long as you are ready to do that legwork for couple of months and get it done. The second one is tricky. There are ways of working, organizational policies, workflows, which are set for traditional ways of working. And in the AI world, if you want to get a real advantage, you will have to change those workflows. And which workflows to change, how much to change is a very, very, very difficult decision. The bottlenecks are not obvious. And any organization, standard ways of changing where many people are involved, to get it changed is extremely difficult. So these, if you ask me, are the two big bottlenecks for getting the big benefits that potentially are available if you implement AI, smartly.
Thanks, Abhijit. Varun?
So, I think from an AI adoption point, one of the areas to think about would be, which Mr. Iyer had spoken about in his conversation, how do we build trust, right? Trust being the core piece that we keep talking about in insurance, whether it is the trust between the insurer and the customer, managed through the seller or the broker, whether it is internally when we are onboarding a customer. And today we ask them so many disclosures, so much information, so many frictional points. Can I actually improve those and relook some of those things that can be done via AI? Now, and that happens at two stages. In different kind of insurances, like in GI, we eventually give insurance to everyone, right? Whatever the product that they come up for, to a large extent. But on the other side, when the claim comes, we create so many hurdles in terms of asking them the questions that it becomes a longer cycle. And AI, ideally, before we even take it to the front lines, well, front lines is more like, can I enable them with the information? But at the back end, from an operational point, can I actually use it to improve the trust by improving my processor understanding of the customer from a claim process, for example, by implementing AI in that cycle. Now, whether that is, and that again, it goes back to the data. So we have that data. We know what points customer come in. We can enrich it from additional behavior signals that we have already sitting outside. And using that, we have the ability to actually design and process and put the AI tools in that cycle to say, can I actually just improve my overall claim cycle? Right? Can I make sure that the customers are treated the right way when they come in and they are segmented into various buckets for that point and automatically sent through those kind of channels? And we are essentially trying to find the few bad actors because of which we create such a large frictional process for 95% of the other people. So how do we improve that? Both from a identification process so that we have the RAG process clearly set out. And the second is within the process itself, how do we improve the operational cycle using AI? And I think that would be a much easier part of thinking internally rather than going and with such a large on-ground workforce, giving them the feeling that they are going to be out of business or this is a competition to them. And so that's a much more cultural, external cultural change that's required.
Thanks, Varun.
So the way I would kind of look at it is, I think as a sector, we were largely geared or working towards a uniform form of response to different set of customers. As in, it was like a one-size solution that we were largely exhibiting to maybe different set of customer universe. The moment you are able to kind of break that up and then start looking at interferences or interventions which you are able to exhibit to those different set of customer cohorts, then to that extent, then your solutions becomes far more refined. And this could again cut across right from the policy underwriting stage in terms of, do you end up sending a same renewal notice to all customers. It's as simple as that. Two, let's say if you're able to possibly say, it looks simplistic, but genuine, honestly, as an industry, we have not done that. To say that if somebody was there, been in the system with you for 5 years, 10 years, can you just add a line to that renewal notice to say that thank you XYZ, the name of the customer, and say that thanks for being with us for 5 years, 10 years. And therefore, to that extent, given that you have been, in that sense, a regular customer of the organization, this is what we can incrementally offer for you. So if you're able to do that, then just imagine now a customer which generally don't read so much. There's a personalized kind of an intervention that you're making to that customer that creates a lot of difference. And at least what we have seen in ICICI Lombard is when we have tried to do that, we have generally seen the customer retention rate significantly go up. So it starts from that. The same thing happens in the context of a call center or in the context of customer experience. Let me put it in that context. Today, again, the point is we possibly end up, again, treating, again, this point that I made in terms of treating all the customers the same. And possibly we try and reach the customer without possibly realizing what time of the day, for example, is convenient for the customer to be reached at. Now, this all looks very, very simple. But end of the day, if you're able to kind of use, as I call without complicating it, a tech solution, in a manner by which you are able to kind of again have the right interventions, greatly that creates a great experience. Third is, I think this market unfortunately has challenges in terms of intent of stakeholders, which are not necessarily true to what the nature of service that we are into. And therefore, the ability of the sector to be able to kind of divide the two, and hence, which is where the bulk of the challenges exist. It's very hard to kind of figure out whose intent is what. And if you're able to get that, that's a journey. We will never be able to get a 100% fix on that. But if you're able to kind of put the solution around to kind of start distinguishing between the two set of cohorts, then all of your interventions and solutions can be far more seamless. And therefore, what we all just discussed in terms of pain to the customers, etc., then the journey becomes far more seamless, simple, straight through processing. And then, of course, for the other set of cohort, there are obviously various other interventions that you're able to exhibit. So that's insofar as the claim journey is concerned. The third is very simple, which is again our own internal processes. I think if you're able to kind of clearly figure out and then prioritize and say that, look, these are 4 things that we will not go for a tech solution because it doesn't work. As in, irrespective of whatever it is, you have to be very, very clear. Many times, institutions typically end up saying that we will end up doing an automation for each and every activity, right? So instead of that, if you're able to be very clear and say that these 4 things we will allow it the way how it is, but at the same time, make sure that the rigor which is there on the rest of the ones in trying to keep your overall cost of operations at the optimal level, that by, again, obviously there is a logical flow in terms of pricing. So those are the 3 things how you can make it work in terms of the solution that one is looking at.
Thanks, Gopal. And you're right. So you talked about personalization, intent of the stakeholders, and the processes where you need automation. Look for that, not for everything. That's very important. And one last question to both of you industry people. And yes or no, how much are you scared from AI on the security aspect of it?
There is no to it. So therefore, the answer has to be yes. But see, the point that I would make is, I think forget about AI, just because of AI. Even otherwise, I'm saying there are so many things that's happening across the globe. And the fact that the original point that I made, end of the day as financial services institutions, we are kind of largely responsible for protecting policyholder interest. And therefore, to that extent, the world is unfortunately so becoming increasingly more and more, in that sense, unreal or complex. So therefore, yes, the short answer is yes. we are 100% mindful of what it can do on the other side. Yeah.
Yeah, Abhijit.
No, so generally cyber security is a problem, big, concern area for all financial institutions, AI or not AI. Having said that, when OpenAI ChatGPT 2 was released, that time also it was said they did not release in public saying that it was too dangerous. And ChatGPT 2, now when you look back at it, it was very underwhelming. Now, let me put it very, it's always in hindsight. So there are challenges, and I'm not denying that. But my take is it's more marketing hype from Anthropic rather than real. The problem of cyber security is not going away. It's very big, I'm not denying. But I don't think this is added, it's already complex, which is hard to solve.
So now quantum audit, DPDP Act, and blockchain also will be coming in, so it's getting complex. So thanks for all your honest insights and inputs, and I hope the audience would have liked it, because I saw only 50% of the people looking at their phone, rest of all were quite attentive. So thank you for that. And reimagining the industry.
So only a small note, had the AI predicted that 50% is going to do that, then maybe we could have kind of done differently.
So thank you once again. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen, for a very insightful discussion. We would like to present you all a memento from Bombay Chamber, for which I would request Mr. Praveen Vashisht if he can do the honors. Thank you. A huge round of applause once again for a great panel. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We now break for lunch, and we expect you all back in the room in at least 45 minutes, as we have a lot of more interesting discussions lined up for you. Thank you.